So let's start with a really personal question. I want you to just take a second and look around you. Right now, your room, your office, the street outside your window. Do you think those buildings are just passive backdrops to your life? Or do they actually have a say in who you're becoming? Are we just living in them, or are they subtly, quietly programming us?
Well, this idea that our surroundings are active players in the story of our lives, it's not just a philosophical thought experiment. It's a whole field of study, and it's what we're going to dive into today. We're talking about something called psychoarchitecture. Now, psychoarchitecture, the name itself tells you so much. It comes from the Greek psyche, meaning soul, and architecton, master builder. So it's not just about how a room makes you feel. The original meaning is so much deeper. It's about the master building of the soul. It reframes the job of an architect entirely, doesn't it? They're not just building structures, they are shaping human character. And believe me, this is not some abstract theory. It has been used for centuries, very deliberately to guide our behavior. Think about it. Those wide, grand boulevards in some cities, they weren't just designed for traffic flow. They were designed to make it impossible to build barricades during a protest. You ever hear about sports teams painting the visiting team's locker room pink? That's a real tactic, used to literally sap aggression. From massive, intimidating doorways that scream power, to the unsettlingly similar layouts of some schools and prisons, it's all about social control.
Okay, so if architecture has this incredible power to influence us, what should its ultimate goal be? Just control? Or maybe cold hard efficiency? Or could it be something much bigger, something more uplifting? Let's look at an ideal that drove one of the greatest civilizations in history, the pursuit of beauty.
This quote, wow, it just gets right to the point. The incredible flourishing of ancient Greece, it wasn't just a lucky accident. A huge part of their success, maybe the big secret, was their obsession with beauty. They didn't see it as some frivolous decoration. For them, it was an absolutely essential foundation for a great society.
And this is a really tough idea for us to wrap our heads around today, but for the Greeks, beauty was not subjective. It wasn't just in the eye of the beholder. It was an objective force, almost like a law of physics. It was a reflection of the divine, cosmic order of the universe. So when you recognize something as beautiful, you are seeing a pattern of truth and goodness itself. Beauty, truth, and the good, they were all just different faces of the same thing.
And that brings us to this absolutely critical distinction. On one hand, you have objective beauty, which the Greeks pursued. This is a universal standard based on real principles like order, symmetry, and harmony, things you can recognize with your mind through reason. On the other hand, you have what we usually talk about today, subjective taste. That's just a personal feeling, an opinion. One is a powerful tool that can elevate an entire culture. The other is just what you happen to like.
So these huge philosophical ideas, they didn't just stay in books. Fast forward to the 20th century, and they were put to the test on a massive, almost unbelievable scale. Governments around the world began these huge projects to build not just new cities, but what they called a new state, complete with a new kind of citizen to live in it.
And let's be clear, these were not just urban renewal projects. They were massive, real-world psycho-architectural experiments. The fundamental belief was that if you wanted to create a new kind of person, whether that was a more democratic person or more obedient one, you first had to build the physical world you wanted them to inhabit.
And just look at this. This is a perfect example. What you're seeing is Belém in Portugal, before and after the Estado Novo regime took over. On one side, you see this chaotic, organic, messy mix of buildings. Then, look at the other side. It was all torn down and rebuilt into this grand, monumental, orderly space. It's a literal physical demonstration of the regime's power and its vision for a new, ordered nation. It's architecture as a mission statement.
So this brings us to the real heart of the matter. Psychoarchitecture is a tool, and like any powerful tool, it can be used in radically different ways. The 20th century basically gave us two competing blueprints for how to use this tool to build a new society.
This table really lays it all out. On one side, you have this democratic ideal from a thinker named Mary Parker Follett. Her whole approach was built around small, local community centers. It was all about bottom-up empowerment. Then, on the other side, you have the authoritarian Estado Novo regimes. Look at the difference. Portugal used this traditional, regional style to inspire obedience and a sense of history. But Brazil went for high modernism to signal a complete break from the past, to forge a so-called modern man. You can see how the architectural style was a deliberate choice, a tool to engineer a very specific kind of person.
Follett's vision was just so radically democratic.
She argued that real political power doesn't come from some distant capital city. It grows out of the everyday interactions people have in their own neighborhoods. For her, politics wasn't abstract. It was people in a shared space solving real problems together.
So her key architectural tool was the social center. Think of it less like a town hall and more like a gym for democracy. These spaces were designed specifically to encourage face-to-face conversations, to get different people and ideas to mix, and to build what she called a genuine collective will from the ground up.
And then you have the complete opposite. For the authoritarian regimes, architecture was a weapon of the state. It was used to project power and to discipline everybody else. Massive courthouses to show the might of the law, standardized schools to teach hierarchy and nationalism. The buildings were designed to make you feel small, to make you feel the constant, heavy presence of the state.
Okay, so what's the point of all this history? What can we actually learn from these massive experiments? And more importantly, how do we apply these lessons to the world we're building right now? Let's try to put this together into a blueprint for our own future. Here's the most important thing to take away from all this. Our environment is never, ever neutral. It's like a script that is actively writing our future, whether we realize it or not. But the good news is, we have a choice. We get to decide what story that script tells. Will it be a story of control or one of collaboration, of isolation or of connection? We are the authors.
So how do we write a better script? Well, first, we have to design for connection. We need to build modern versions of the Greek agora, places that encourage community, not just commerce. Second, we have to bring nature back in. This idea of biophilic design isn't just about having a few potted plants around. It's about reconnecting our world to the natural one, which is kind of a modern version of that Greek ideal of cosmic order. And finally, we can use what's called choice architecture to gently nudge ourselves and each other toward better behavior, making the good choice the easiest choice. And that brings us right back to where we started. The spaces we build today, they are literally the foundations for the people of tomorrow. They are the architecture of our soul. So I want to leave you with this to think about. As the master builders of our own future, what story are we going to choose to tell?